the event occurring, what's the output process are there. So you just see, because here in this, like we are saying that this is neutralization reaction. So how we will represent, because this concept like Petrinet is developed only for the representation of the chemical reaction. So this is the only basic concept where the Carl Adam Petri find out that where we can apply this thing. And nowadays this network is applicable in every branch of science, even not in biological science or chemical science, even it is very useful in computer science as well, and engineering science, and are in graph theory as a mathematics, you can see. Okay, so in our daily life, like social networks, everything is made up of networks. So you can see, or you can go through the all the contents for related to these type of networks, where very dense networks can be treated as a model, or we can analyze the properties for the at least sub networks, and then we can generalize or predict the behavior of the system for the future predictions. Okay, so here like S2SO4, what we have to take here, like because for the neutralization, this is the process. Okay, so for this process we required like S2SO4 one input condition, NaOH second input condition, and the coefficients of these like stoichiometry coefficient we can treat like as a arc weight. So here is 1, so that's why we have taken 1 arc weight, 2, so here is again 2, and again Na2SO4. Okay, so here you can see like uh, S2SO4, because there is 1, so you can take like 1 or 2 commands, because I have given here 2, but you are, because it will be higher if you take here 1 as well. Okay, but here is necessary that you have to take either 2 or greater than 2. So here, like I have just considered here 2 only. So because after this neutralization condition, what we have to take, like 1 is consumed from here, 2 is consumed from here, and because to Na2SO4 only there is 1 stoichiometry coefficient, means it means here is only 1 arc weight. So total 3 tokens consumed by this T, but means this process, but how many it is basing? Only 1. Okay, and similarly there is one part, or 2s2 is also there, 2s2. So for 2s2, because 2 output arcs it has, so that's why 1 is distributed here and 2 is distributed here. So among 3, 1 goes to this one and 2 goes to this one. So after firing of this transition, token distribution is like this. Okay, so here we can see, and by using same formula we can find out the number of tokens, that how many number of tokens are distributed. So there are many Petrinet subclasses as well, like state machine is there, mark graphs are there, free choice net there. So what's the need, like where we use, like in the system, maybe sometimes our system is only based like there is one input condition, but on the basis of same input condition, maybe 2 parallel processes are going on. Okay, so sometimes our situation is like that 2 or maybe more, it's not necessary that only 2, maybe more than processes are going on, but same input condition is required. So in that type of situation, we can use some state machine Petrinet type. And sometimes what will happen, that same process is giving 2 and more output for some other processes. So here we can see by through the model that what is happening. So this is some process, and this process is distributing some output commands to some further processes. So like for these processes, these conditions are becomes now input condition. Okay, so in such type of situation, we can use the other type of variants of Petrinet, which is bar graph. And nowadays, there are so many variants of Petrinets are available, which are useful or based on the different concepts. Like if there are some possibility or probability is there, then stochastic Petrinet is also available. Okay, so colored Petrinets is also available. Hybrid Petrinets are also available, and for the continuous processes, again continuous Petrinet is also available. But these 5 are some main variants which can be further can be, we can find out that even in our requirement, according to our requirement, we can modify our system and we can generate new variants in that case. So based on these all variants and other variants, there are many mathematical tools available. You can work on these for analyzing the data or some small word or big word problems. So here extended free choice patronate, free choice net patronate is also there. So you can see how it is happening, that there is only one input condition, but same input conditions are going to be some other processes, you can see. And here what we see that there are two different conditions are there, but both the conditions are useful to some different processes. So in that case, we will use the extended features and similar way is asymmetric choice patronage is also there. That sometimes maybe in our system that for particular task we required only two input condition, but maybe some another task is there for which only one condition is required. So maybe sometimes resource sharing is also available, that particular resource is only particular resource is sharing to some different tasks or jobs. So these are the some mathematical definitions. You can see that what's the meaning. So state machine states that for each and every transition, if you see that for each and every place there is input transition, set of input transition and set of output transition is always one. So similarly, we can see the mathematical definitions. So each transition has exactly one input place and exactly one output place. Like again, we can see the example here, this one. For each transition, if there is exactly one input place and exactly one output place, means every task you can see, if maybe there is one system, we have one system or one machine, you can think about like we have one machine in manufacturing, and one machine is used for many tasks. Okay, many features it have. So in that case, like every process is depending on one input condition and one output condition. So in that case, we call it state machine concept. And mark graph means for each phase has exactly one input transition and exactly one output transition. So this is the just notation that number of input transition equal to transition, which is equal to 1. So K star means input and 4 star means output transition. Okay, so these are the mathematical definitions you can see. So here, these type of relation, you can see that how the symmetry state machine and mark graph. So there are some common part is sharing. So and asymmetric choice net is always, you can see that here some common, but something is different here. But free choice net is again a state machine and mark graph. So similarly, we can see diametrically and how it is happening. Process can be slow. So state machine can be used like where we are not able to take the decision that which process is going first. So when the completeness property is there, or sometimes maybe we are not sure. So in that case, state machine can be used, because again we know that patronage is useful for modeling the concurrent or those are parallel in, like here these are going on parallelly. So yeah, also useful. Okay, so you can see like patronage is useful in sequential execution. So these are the type of sequential execution. Then concurrency, because parallelly these processes are going on. So red ones denotes the processes. Means here these are parallelly ongoing. First, this is fire. First T1 process going on, and after finishing the first process, then there is some sequence of process are going on, and another sequence of process are going on. So these are going as parallelly, you can see. So this type of situation can also be modeled by the patronage, and you can analyze the system. So basically, these concepts like patronage can be useful in manufacturing, automatic systems, and some industrial problems. Okay, so because everything is again, it will be work on a logic where some input conditions required, output condition is required for firing any transition or any process. And synchronization, you can see that how it is happening. So like for one process there are many conditions are there, and after that, by taking many inputs, we just giving one output, you can say. In simple words, you can say taking many inputs. But what's the requirement? Already we have discussed that what's the requirement when transition will fire, when the input conditions, means number of tokens should be greater than equal to the outputs. Then it will fire, and after that it will preset it. So here one output, this is synchronization process, and similarly completeness we have already done. Okay, so there are some examples we have taken here. Now we are basically discussing the properties of the Petri because when the system has given to us, then we have to analyze the system very carefully, that what are the requirements for the system processes, and how we analyze the system structurally as well as behaviorally. So there are two types of properties. First one is structure property and second one is behavior property. So these properties depends only, like first we are discussing structure property. So structure property is only depends on the structure. It is not, it's not on initial marking. So initial marking means because initial marking is useful only the distributing the tokens to the each and every places initially. Okay, so initially we have to give some commands according to our requirement. Okay, and because command should be always follows the property that it should be greater than equal to output, corresponding output. So but here in a structural property there is no importance of the initial marking. You can assign anything, okay, whatever you have assigned. So structural property is only depending on the structure. So these are the great importance. So how the structure properties, first type is like ordinary patronage. Sometimes like if arc weight, if the weight of the each arc is pn is equal to 1, then it is called the ordinary patronage. And this property is conservativeness. So how we will check that given patronage or given model is conservative or not? So you have to check that for every transition the sum of the input age weights is equal to the sum of output age. Means how much, like there is an age, like here I'm just taking one model. So we have to check whether this system will conserve or not. So how we will check for each and every transition how many arc weights are coming, the sum of the weights of these arcs should be equal to the arc weight of the output arc of corresponding that particular transition. So this should be for each and every transition. They should be satisfied for each and every transition used in the given system. Means whatever process are given, we have to check very carefully that for each and every processes, these conditions must be satisfied. So in that case, we can say yes, the given system is conservative, because sometimes conservativeness will preserve among the system. So it will roles play the very important role play in the analyzing of the energy. So it depends again the our requirement. So next is boundedness, that system is bounded or not. So how we will check that in bounded patronage, the number of tokens in a place will not exceed a certain number in every possible marking state. Because after firing, like initial marking only states that we have to distribute the commands to each and every place initially, but after firing the transition state will change. So as process are going on, state is always changing. So after we have to check that it will now after certain number of the stage again it will bounded or not. So how we will check that number of tokens must be accumulated, but it should be bounded, never going to infinity. So for the conservativeness, it should be there, and consistency is also there. So it is possible to traverse. So how we will check that given system is consistent or not? So if it is possible to traverse back to the initial marking state, that whatever at a stage we have reached, like mu I, we have reached mu I plus 1. But if it is possible reverse back to reach out back to mu naught, then we can say yes, it is consistent. Otherwise, it is not. So this is also a great property, structural property counted as. Next is siphon. So siphon states that a siphon is the subset of places n, which is states that the number of input places of P is always subset of output places of P. So this is known as the siphon. In simple way we can see. And here we can say like if trap is a subset, again it's a reverse of the siphon one. You can see here pre star n is subset of post star, but here the post star is subset of pre star. So in that case we can see the traps and siphons. So behavioral properties, what are the behavioral properties? These properties depends on the initial marking. Like in the structure properties, it's not necessary. Means they are initial marking invariant. Only they are depending on structure. But here the properties depend on the initial marking and the firing policy, that how it is firing. So firing procedure also involved and initial marking also matters. So how you are distributing, if you are giving 2 tokens, if you are giving 3 commands or 4 commands, then again behavioral properties depends. So because sometimes in our application we require that 4 commands should be given, like if we have given for printing that how many commands we are giving, then according to it will process. So similarly maybe in any system which depends on user, so in that case behavioral properties are analyzed and behavioral properties are depends on. So these properties are hence of great importance when modeling dynamic systems, because that depends on the behavior of the system, okay, not on the structure. So that's why these behavioral properties have importance. So there are so many behavioral properties. Like first one is liveness. So liveness means, like first we are saying that because in liveness we will use the live marking and live transition. So what is the liveness property? First we say the live marking. So any marking can be raised from any other marking by firing of transition. So in that case it is called live marking. Like if mu2 is obtained from firing the transition, like mu naught is already given, but mu2 can be obtained the firing of the transition after 2 stage, it means mu2 is live. But if mu2 is not obtained by firing of the transition, means there is some dead transition, or maybe some processes are not happening, there is some mistake in the system, some deadlocks are there. So in that case it means the marking is not live. Okay, and similarly, live transition means what? That particular process is not firing, it means the particular transition will not fire. So in that case, transition is called dead transition. Okay, and if it is fired at each any marking, it means it is live. So sometimes, maybe sometimes after giving some commands, like if some system is multi-processing system, so for certain commands maybe it will not work, but maybe on some commands it will work. So if on some command it will work, it means it is live for particular command sound, but it is not working for other commands. So sometimes maybe, and sometimes maybe some process are not works at any command. So in that case it will call dead, because it is not working at any mounting. So in that case it is dead transition, or it is not live in that case. So any patronate is said to be live. Live means every transition should be live. Means in that patronate is working model, when we say that each and every transition or each and every process is in working state. So in that case we can say. So whatever system you are considering, you have to check like we are live, like our body live when our system, like each and every organ is in working state. So because our body is also made up of networks, so you can apply for same thing. Okay, so here reversibility is what? If Pn is reversible for each marking M reachable from M naught, and M naught is reachable from M. So reversible means, again, because terminology is coming like reversible, reachable. So reachable means we are just reaching some particular stage from some initial stage. Reversible means again we reverse back. Means again, can we say that now initial marking is reachable from previous one? Like MN is the any stage after filing the transition at nth stage. So can we say now again can we reverse back to the initial marking? So in that case, the system is reversible. If initial marking can be obtained after filing, again reverse back to reachable marking n. So here this is the concept. So sometimes it is reversible in the, yes. Okay, so here we can see that like where is the application. So here I have considered very small example for your clarity that how it is useful in data flow computation as well. So like because already we have done, like maybe you are little bit, you have some little bit knowledge of computer science like logical gates and everything. So same thing. Hello.
Hello, ma'am. Sita.
Excuse me.
Unmute, ma'am. Mute yourself, ma'am. Sita Mahalakshmi, ma'am. Mute yourself.
Please mute. Please mute yourself. Please. Yeah. So thank you. Now here we can see like logical gates. Similar thing we can see like here what is happening in data computation. So like here we have taken one example, but there is a long data computation is there. So you can use, because there are many tools available, you can use directly, and it's a automatic process and you can find the output. So it's a very useful tool. You can see that how it is happening, like some processes are there and there are some output conditions. So you can take like A is 8 and B is 4. In that case, like P1, A plus B, A minus B. So here is A, here is B. You can see. Okay, B is here, A is here. Okay, and I'm taking two values, one for 8 and here B is 4. So here what we are saying, because output we required A plus B over B minus B. Okay, so here aid process, because again we have to identify that what's the process. So we are just, because here our application is based on data flow computation. So here processing name we just given that here addition process, here subtraction process. So here means we are adding these two entities from here. Okay, so we will get here A plus B. Again we just, because here input condition is what, that A is coming from here. Okay, and here is what, it's a output condition, because after firing the addition process we will get the result. So here A plus A. Similarly here, because we required this whole thing now, so separately we have to calculate, like here was this process, that here it's coming from this and then from this and then this is the, because this is process, because we are already identified that this is the process for subtraction only. So now it will fire and it will gives the output as a minus B. So again there is output condition A plus B. There is again some another output condition A minus B. Now again we apply the divide process. Okay, so here, and because what's the, because dividend rule is what, that it should be not equal to 0. So first of all we have to again apply one process, that we have to check if it is 0 or not. So like if A minus B not equal to 0, then it is possible. If it is 0, then it is undefined. So there is also one stage, like undefined stage in factory net. So the data computation is also possible in factory network. So here we have taken very small examples here. Similarly, you can see like in communication protocol, you can see vending machine. Okay. So I'm just skipping here. Some mathematical portion is also there, which is very useful. So now, because already we have seen that what is siphon and trap. So these are the definitions. Now, how it is useful in graph theory. Like what I have done here, I'm just showing that I'm just giving the basic idea, not I'm just giving or discussing here the research. I'm just giving the basic idea so that you are able to apply your idea in your problem. So here what we are doing that some small graph we have taken, and what we are trying that can we solve this graph, or can we check that this graph is Hamiltonian or not, and can we find out the maybe some, because this is very small graph, but maybe sorry. Okay, so here you can see that very small graph is given, but it can be applicable in dense graph as well. So here, what's the benefit? Like, because already we know that Hamiltonian graph is NP-complete and everything, so it's not be solvable in polynomial time, and there are lots of algorithmic approaches are given. So here also we have developed some algorithmic approach as well. It's not again because whenever the network is very dense, again the complexity is the issue, because already we know that Hamiltonian problem is NP hard problem. It's not a NP complete problem. So still there is an open problem, but still for the small graph it can be useful. So here we can see like how we analyze that, how many cycles are there, how many Hamiltonian cycles are there, and so because there are so many algorithms, so here also we have tried to apply like by using patronets, because it's a automatic process, so that's why it's quite easy in compared to like we have analytically proved and everything like graph theory algorithms we have seen.
Ma'am, you are muted, ma'am. Sunita, ma'am.
Uh, Hello. Yes, ma'am. I'm just give me 1 minute. Actually, I have some urgent calls, so that's why I'm just.
Okay, 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 ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. So, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah. So here, what we are doing, like because each and every vertex can be represented as a transition, and every edges can be represented as a places. You can see. So here, 5 vertices are there. So correspondingly, 5 transitions are there, and there are 11 edges. So corresponding, there are 11 places. You can see. So here we are seeing that how it is applicable in graph theory as well. So here you can see there is a loop. It means for particular this vertex V1, E11 is the loop at V1. So here this input condition P11 is the input as well as output place for the T1. Means for this process, it will input as well as output. So what's the need? Like maybe sometimes this network may be represent a transport network. Okay, so it again depends on our application, that whatever application you are considering, and weights are accordingly varies. Like here if we are considering this network as a transportation network, it means weights maybe can be considered as a distance. Okay, so here these weights are denotes the capacities of the places, means the number of tokens accommodated by particular input conditions. These are denotes as the bounds of that particular places. Okay, so here this is the model, means you can say this is the underlying graph of the given graph. Okay, so where we replace the vertices as a transition and edges as a places, and you can see the flow of the network, how it is flowing. Like here T1 to T2, there is one place, means you can see this circle is P2, means E2 corresponding to E2H. So here V1 to V2 is E2H, means there is place in between T1 to T2. Okay, so flow is again same as the flow of this particular edge. So here flow is from T1 to P2 and then P2 to T2. And similar way we can see the flow of the whole network. So here what we have done, that we just applied some binary operations, which is known as towards the specific binary operation. It says that if we neutralize, this is the just neutralize operations, that if we neutralize plus and minus, then it is becomes plus minus. And what's the interpretation of plus minus in this model? Plus minus shows that particular place is input place as well as output place. Okay, so I'm just showing here that if we consider the matrix, any matrix representation for the given NAT, then Aij cross n is the matrix of order n cross m, where n is the number of vertices and m is the number of edges for the given network. So here A plus or significance of this is plus means particular J place like here. P2 is the input place for T2. Okay, so here is minus. But if there is output, like here P6 is the output place of T4. So there is plus, means if there are some outgoing out from T4 transition to place, then there is plus. But if there are some incoming out from place to transition, then it is minus. And if there are some input as well as output, like here P11, only this P11 is the input as well as outgoing place of this T1 transition. So there is plus minus. So here we can construct the sign incidence matrix. How? Like T1 is neither input transition nor output transition for P1. You can see here, like P1 is here. So T1 is here. P1 is here and T1 is here. So T1 is neither a input transition for P1 nor output transition, because for a T1 have input transition P11 as well as output transition, and P2 as a output place. So only T1 have plus here at P2 and plus minus at P11. So you can see like for T11 is the input, because P2 is the output place, so that's why it is plus, and P3 is the input place for T1. You can see here, from here for this place it's coming to this transition, it means this is the input place for T1, so that's why it is minus. You can see here minus. Okay, and P4 is also output place. So like here for T1, P4 and P11 is the plus minus. Okay, so here again P11 is the plus minus because it's input and output. So only the loops represent the plus minus, and rest all are, if it is input then it is minus, if it is output place then it is plus, and if it is neither input and nor output then it is zero. So this is just a sign incidence matrix representation of the given model. And after now we analyze this matrix And after calculating so many applications, like what's the, because here I'm just showing the one algo which calculates the different length cycles for the given graph and Hamiltonian cycles for the given graph. So here, what's the need that we have to input the sign incidence matrix of order n cross m of the given directed graph. Like here, this is n cross m because the number of transitions are 5 and number of places are 11. So the order is 5 cross 11 because these represents the edges, these represents the vertices. So this is the n cross m order of the given graph, which is sign incidence matrix. And then what we do, select CJ, the first column in the sign incidence matrix I, having plus entry whose corresponding place and capacity is denoted by this one. Means CJ is what? Means we have to search out the first column in the sign incidence matrix, like here, which have plus entry, at least one plus entry. So you can see P1 is the first column. Initially, if we see, sometimes maybe some column doesn't have any, like here, there is no plus entry. In last column, there is no plus entry. It is plus minus. Okay. So what's the need that first we have to choose first column which have the plus entry. So here P1 have the plus entry at the second position. Okay, so now what we have to do, that we have to neutralize that. What's the next procedure? That now we are trying to this plus entry by minus, means we are just neutralizing this plus for becoming the plus minus. So here plus minus, what's the need? What's the significance of this plus minus? Plus minus shows that now that particular will become a input place as well as output place. So here what we are doing in this algo, that we are just after neutralizing again and again and again, after certain stage we will get some certain number of transitions which forms a input, means whose input transition set is again equal to the set of output transitions, and it is equal to the set of transition as well. Sometimes maybe not all transitions, maybe sometimes subsets of that particular set of transition will have a. So how much time I have?
Recharge.
Okay, so here what we are doing, like here, first we just taking the loop recursion level, because again, because it's a recursive process, so we have to set the some recursion to 1, and we just store the first column to VJR and some places to place JR. Please mute. And capacities means what? The bits of the given arm. So here we can see, like here capacities we are storing these given arms, like KIs are the capacities, and these are the corresponding from given graph according to their weights. So here capacity shows the weight arcs, and the place stores the set of places, and VJR is the VJR just initially what we have to choose in the sign incidence matrix, as we have the plus entry initially. So here VJR is again some assignment of the sets where it's stored initially CZ. So here set x is equal to 5, because here initially x is 5, because now we are trying to that this x is contained either the subset of the transitions or the complete set of the transition. So here if this capital X is equal to the set of all transition, it means the corresponding cycle or corresponding edge weight will form a cycle in that case, which is Hamiltonian. And if the subset of the transition is not equal to the whole set transition, it means the corresponding edge set will only constitute or construct a cycle only. It's not a Hamiltonian cycle. So here, by just applying this concept, what we do, the next we will find again a vector which neutralize the previous one plus one, And similarly, I'm just showing that how it is happening before going the all steps. So here you can see like, because in this first P1 is the neutralizing common because it has plus. So now we have to search out some another column which have the minus at same position. So like here P2 is neutralizing column. Neutralizing means just we are adding plus and minus, it will become plus minus. So P2 is neutralizing column and P6 is also there. So there are two neutralizing columns which neutralize the first column. So here what we see, because initially we have to store V11 as a first column which having the plus entry. So here C1 is the first column which have the first entry plus. So here we stored 0 plus 0 0 minus. You can see first column, whole first column. Now because for this column we have seen that P2 and P6 both are the neutralizing columns. So what we are doing under this operation, you just see C2 column neutralized and then C6 column neutralized. And how it is neutralizing, you just see the binary, you just think about like in binary addition as well. In computer science you can see binary addition, what we have to 0 plus 1 becomes 1, 1 plus 0 becomes 1, and 1 plus 1 is 1. So here also, because this is sign incidence matrix, so we are just treating as a sign. But what's the concept, that 0 added, you can simply like here these are this again as a binary operation you can think. So 0 under this addition plus gives plus only, but if plus is added with minus then it will become plus minus, and 0 added with 0 is 0, 0 added with 0 is 0, and minus added with 0 is again minus. Okay, so what we need, like here, because everywhere is plus minus in this column, because how many rows are there, equal to the number of vertices, because all transitions are corresponding to number of vertices. So how many vertices, there are 5 in our network, so there are 5 rows are there. So how we will find that given structure or given vector will form a cycle or not, because parallelly we are storing here corresponding places, because P1, because C2 is corresponding to P2 and C1 is corresponding to P1 place. Here P1, C1 column is P1, C2 column is P2. So whatever columns we required or whatever columns are used in this neutralizing process, we just stored here, because these particular edges shows that, because PIs are corresponding to edges, so these particular places shows that particular edges are useful or constructing the cycles. So here parallelly we are storing corresponding places and with their capacities, that what are the weights of these all. So similarly here you can see that after C6 rising again we have to find out plus 9. Now what's the process? We again repeat this process. If we find again plus in the obtained column, then again we see the next neutralizing column as well. Like here in this example, in this column we have for a plus at first position. Means now again we search out the next neutralizing column where there is negative or you can say minus at first position. So here P3 is there and P9 is there. So again you can see that we neutralize with C3 and C9. So after neutralizing, how many plus minuses are there? 2 plus minus, but one more minus is there. So some columns, those having only plus minus and 0, only plus minus and 0. Like here in this column, minus is also there, but I'm talking if the in the column there is only plus minus, like here in this place. If in this place we see there are only plus minus entry and 0 entry. So it shows that this particular place set will form a cycle in the given graph. So here you can see because there is P1, this one is P1, P2 and P9. So P1 means E1. So here is E1 and E9 is here, and which one is, yeah, E2. Okay, so P2 is there, P1 is there, and P9 is there. So it means you can see like directed is this one, then this directed is, then this directed is. Okay, so sometimes maybe like network is directed. If it is indirected, then again you can convert into a directed graph, because indirected can be treated as a bidirectional graph, directed graph. Okay, so here we can find the one cycle of length 3. Okay, so here plus minus 0 entry shows that it will constitute this corresponding place set will form a some cycle structure. And if sometimes maybe you can see here, uh, but here like in previous one, because this only contains, but in previous one there is again a minus. It means this is not a this set will not form a cycle because there is one more minus. So but what's the process of neutralizing that? If we have plus, then we have to search about the minus. But if we have minus, then never we search out the plus. This is the again a restriction for here, that we are just adding plus to minus, but not minus to plus. So here we left this column, but we can use this column again for further application. So here again, because this first, again we search out the next. So again we have to see that we can obtain one more cycle, like in this structure or in this column vector, we can see that 4 entries are plus minus and 1 entry is 0. So it means it again a form a cycle of length 4, because there are 4 places and these 4 places are corresponding to 4 edges, and you can consider that that particular E1, E6, E7, E8, this again will form a cycle. Okay, so this concept is again because it is more easy because it's a automatic process. There are so many softwares are available which gives the automatic. So similarly, maybe it is useful. And because sometimes we require the Hamiltonicity, so again because the number of transition here 5, number of vertices are 5. So what's the Hamiltonian? Because these are only cycle, these are not Hamiltonian. But now after doing same procedure, we will find the plus minus everywhere, like here in this. So there are 5 edges. You can see E1, E4, E6, E7, because these are the places where corresponding edges are there. So we can see that P1, P4, P6, P7, and P9 will form a Hamiltonian in this given graph. Okay, so here this is the procedure. You can see, like again I'm showing. So here, which one is Hamiltonian? Like you can, because hit and trial methods are available. First you start hit and trial method for the small graph, but it's not quite easy for the some larger graph. So if the nodes are vary, in that case it is quite difficult for analytical proof. But here it is automatic, because you have to draw only the petri net and then just give a command initially, and then it is automatic gives the that how many cycles exist, how many uh, Hamiltonian cycles exist there. But at least these are the algorithm, algorithm, so which is quite easy in comparison. So again we have seen that in the success. So here what is given, that this set of places is siphon as well as swap. So siphon means because in set of input transitions are equal to the set of output transition, because this for particular this set P1, P4, P6, P7, P9, the input set of transition is T1, T2, T3, T4 and T5 only, and T1, T2, T3, T5 is corresponding to V1, V2, V3, V4, V5. So because all vertices are covered, it means what? It is now will form a Hamiltonian cycle, because what's the requirement of the Hamiltonian cycle? That each and every vertex should be covered. So maybe sometimes in some problems, maybe there is one like in transportation, say one way or safety problem. So in that case, directed graph concept can be used. Okay, so in directed graph, we have to check whether maybe there is no direction from A to B, but there is a direction from other vertices. So maybe cycle not directed there, but in undirected graph, because each edge denotes the bidirectional edge. You can for going anywhere from one vertex to another. So this is the application for the how the directed graph can model as a attribute graph, and we can analyze the whatever in graph. We applied some algorithm and all this is our very easy. Okay, there are some short tricks which tell us that yes, there exists or not, cycles exist or not, but which cycle exists, there is no algorithm. Okay, so this is the again a hit and trial and advancement of the previous algorithm, and on the basis of these concepts, we develop these. So you can apply for the large problem as well. So here, like there are many tools I have shown here one example that how it is happening. So like here, after giving the command, this will fire, and after firing, this will move the token to this condition. And again, because again you see this condition is the input condition for this transition. So this transition is also fired because for this transition, this is the input condition. Okay, so again it will give the token to this condition, means the output condition. So here you can start from here, start from, then after firing this will start. So you can see here that this will start. Again distributes the token. So you can see here that after placing the token, now it will enable, because here is also input out. So now it is enabled. You just see that for this particular transition, there is only one input out. Rest of the output. It means now it is fire. After again distribute the token to it. Here again one token. Here is also one token. Here is again one token. But parallel process is ongoing. So because it's an automatic process, so it will give the different cycle at the same time. So I'm just showing one cycle that how it is happening. So here after firing, again here it distributes the token. So here it will come again, because this transition, for this transition, this is the input condition, or you can say input out. So now this transition is again fired. So you can see here. Okay, so there is a, we can obtain the cycle of length 3, and similarly we can have others that which one. Okay, so these are more concepts like invariant analysis. Incidence matrix is there. So what are the benefits of the invariance? That these are the again the technique for analyzing by operating some operations on incidence matrix, for analyzing basically in chemical reactions or some pathways, biological pathways are there, like signaling pathways is there, metabolic pathways is there, and the gene regulatory networks are there. So these many variants are available for patronage, so we can use any type of variants which are applicable in our system or model. So here in incidence matrix is what for a patronage with m places and m transition. Already we have discussed that what is m, and the incidence matrix is Aij is a n cross n matrix of integers, and its entries are given by like Aij is Wij, where the weight of Wij is the weight of I to j. Okay. If place j is an output place of transition. So again you can say if place j is output transition, this place j is output transition for T2, then it's a positive weight, and it's a negative weight if place j is input place of transition. And so you can see like here P2 is the input place for T2, and this P3 is the output place for T2. And if sometimes maybe some place is neither input nor output for the given transition, like here P2 is neither input nor output for T1, because there is no connection from P2 to either P2 to T1 or T1 to T2. So here that's why it is 0. So we have formulated here the matrix, incidence matrix, and you can see like here number of rows taken as a places and transition as a columns. So here P1, T1, you can see P1, T1 is here, and T1 is here. So because T1 is the input for T1, so that's why we have placed here -1. And similarly, P1 is, you can see P1 is only input place for T1, so that's why it is 1. But P2 is neither a input or P2, and this is not coming at T2, this P1 is not coming at T3, so here that's why it is 0, 0. Similarly, P2, if you see, P2 is also input place for T3. P2 is T3, so it's -1, and P2 is, can say, output of T1, so that's why it is 1. Okay, so now in the middle, that and similarly for P3, P3 is, it is going, T1 is here, that's why it is 0. But it is input place for T2 and output place for T3. So output place for T3, that's why it is 1, and the input place for T2, that's why it is -. Clear? Now invariant analysis. So invariant analysis, there are two types of invariant analysis: place invariant and transition invariant. Because like already we have discussed that Patrinet is a tool which has two types, two-folded features, graphical as well as mathematical. So graphically we have seen that how it is happening. Now some mathematical operations are there. By using some equations we can analyze the system. So these type like place invariance and transition invariance comes under the incidence matrix. These are comes under the mathematical equations and algebraic equations. So here you can see like system of simultaneous linear equations you can think about. So here place invariant is what? It is a set of places over which the weighted sum of tokens is constant independent of any filing. So you can see that in simplest way we can understand here that what it is. That we have to find out first the impedance matrix, whatever we have discussed in last time. Here A, we just take the transpose, and then we multiply this x is equal to 0. Okay, so we constitute this equation where A is the impedance matrix and x is the solution vector, that which depends on our system, that what are the possible integral solution of the system of linear equation. So even if someone is interested, then there is a, even if somebody is working on system of ODs, there is a one tool, or you can say there is a conversion. If you have Petri network of any system, then Petri net can be converted into a system of linear equation. If you knows that what are the input condition and what are the input parameters, what are the output parameters, then it can be converted into the system of linear. And if you are the solving the system of ODEs, then you can apply the any method and you can just analyze or validate your data with the help of that. Okay, so that's the so here is the place invariant position of F, and invariant is the transition number of dimensions to reproduce the given state of the system. So here, because now we are talking about, like already we have discussed, that is very useful in any network system. So basically like biological and some metabolic network. So here you can see the incidence matrix in solution vector can be multiplied, and if it is 0, then it is will form the transition matrix. So it's again because we have to consider a multi-factor transition. So here we are showing that how it is. So these vectors denote that the total number of tokens. How, like here the 1 0 0 2 1 0. It depends like the initially that how arcs are there and how the tokens are distributed. Okay, so initially because we not distribute the each and every place by some tokens. Or someone's mic is unmuted again. So here because vector can be represented like 1 0 1. So 1 0 0 1, because P1 is 1, P2 is 0, and P3 is 0, and P4 is 1. So here we can represent the column vector or marking vector as a 1 0 0 1. So this is the representation, and accordingly we can find the again relation. So like, because we are talking about the metabolic pathways, so here I'm just giving you basic idea that how we can represent these entities by in any network, chemical network. So like places can be assumed like enzymes or metabolites or ions, whichever you are using this type of process or equations or reactions you are using. And transition can be treated as a reactions or processes. And directed arcs are relation between compounds, that what is the relation between these compounds. And arc width can be taken as a stoichiometric coefficient and taken as the quantities of each compound present, that how much compound is present there. So that quantity can be treated as a token. And read arc means action of enzymes, that how they are taking place, enzymes, then according to redox can be taken or represented. And inhibitor, like inhibitor arc, there is a one facility of inhibitor arc. So inhibitor arc, like if we inhibit some process, okay, some behavior, so in that case we can use the inhibitor arc. So like here some equation I have, chemical reaction I have taken. So this thing like stoichiometric coefficient, like R is 3, S is 1, T is 2, and U is 1. So here after processing, after firing, like say this is any process, chemical reaction. So stoichiometric coefficients are, these all are for the compound A, B, C, D, E. E is the reaction, and A, B, C, D, these are the compounds. So here we can treat like compounds are taken as a circle, and reaction is denoted as a this bar, and arc width stoichiometric coefficients are taken as a arc widths. And because we know that number of tokens are in your hand, so you can distribute the tokens according to their input arcs or output arc initially, so that if input condition will fulfill, then corresponding reaction will occur. If for example, if here is 3 and you are putting here 2, then it never fire. So you have to put the tokens or commands according to like a number of tokens, sorry, arc width. You can use more, but never be less. It may be equal to or greater. So this type of, so in that case. So here I have taken one example, like these are the metabolic pathways, that there are some process, there are some compounds. So here like a cycle is there. So here we have seen that how it is happening. So we have done that how PHs are basically polymers which are biosynthesis curve cycle is the competing pathways when glucose is the main source of the carbon, because glucose is always this sugar is always present. So that's why we have taken like here you can see that how we model here. Okay, so this is the model for our pathway, that because this is input condition, it should be present. So that's why we have taken that. And then after in this pathway, because there is a one process which is oxidation process. So that's why, because it's happening oxidation process in between these two compounds, that acetyl CoA and sugar. So oxidation is in between, so that's why we have represented by bar, because this reaction can be represented. And these, there are some standard equation already inbuilt. There are some these system represent the system of or you can say set of reactions. So on the basis of this set of reactions, we have formulated this model. So process is there, input condition is there, and we are checking that now after firing this process, PHA is synthesized or not. Means, so if it is synthesized, means we have to do that things. If it is not, and model is not firing, means there are some dead network, sorry, dead transitions are there. It means our network is dead. It is not live, means some transitions are not live, means they are not firing at some certain stages. So it means what? Because transition is already represents some already inbuilt like processes. So it means if some particular transition is not firing means what? That particular process is not happening. Okay, so if there are some oxidation, it means it will occur. So you can generate the system of equations, and on the basis of we just model a patronate, and like because sometimes we require the qualitative data in place of quantitatively, but sometimes when we require the quantitatively data, like if we find out some targets like drug targets, possible drug targets in the metabolic pathways, then we require that is there any pathway or is there some process is happening or not. If they are happening, then what are the uh, data or what are the pathway, feasible pathway under which it is happening. And if we get the feasible pathway, then maybe we will try to like try to for experimental data or experimental work in our lab. So for before wasting our solutions and all, we can go through or we can try for the qualitative or quantitative analysis of the pathways for finding the drug targets, possible drug targets, because here we can use the concept of phase transition invariants, which will give the possible pathways for any chemical metabolic pathway. So here we have shown that how it is firing and all, and after firing, uh, this shows that now here we obtain the PHA. So PHA means it is synthesized, means after these processes, if we change, means after these processes, so these are the standard equation or reaction already given that yes, but on the basis what we can say that we can find out new pathways as well, that what will happen if we change or if we inhibit this reaction, then what is the change for whole system and all. So in case we can use this concept, it's more interesting. Okay, so we can go through it for the questionnaire. So here we have done, we have because we have modeled, then we have done some structural analysis. We have checked that it is bounded or not, it has a deadlock or not, because for the filing or for the completion of any model, the model should be a deadlock free. Deadlock free means each and every transition means each and every transitions means events should be fired at least once at each and every step or stage you can see. So whenever you distributed the tokens initially, then you have to verify first that model is correct or not. So how we will check model is correct or not? It should be deadlock free, means every transition or every process within in the system should be fired. So like here what's the use, like maybe sometimes system is not in working state, some process are not firing. It means we can identify as well by modeling this type of modeling systems or modeling tools. We can identify that where is the deadlock occurs. So if there are some deadlocks, it means we can recover that deadlock, and then we can find out or we can make the system as live model, and then we can go. So this is also the benefit for this type of qualitative analysis. So here, because we are the graph artist, so here we use coverability theory one, that when at which stage we find the deadlock. Okay, so after finding, I've just taken here the screenshot, but it's a very long tree, and because there is a deadlock, some certain transition will not fire after some finite number of steps. So it shows that after which step it is not fired or there is a deadlock. So coverability tree is also one analysis technique for finding the deadlocks and for finding the reachability marking or reversibility marking for liveness and everything. So here also we have done some invariant analysis which shows that. So what we have done here, that in this network we have identify that what are the T invariants and P invariants. So here I have shown only that what are the P invariant basic idea, but what's the need of these P invariants and T invariants, like in metabolic pathways, in biological, gene regulatory, signaling, or whatever networks you are doing, social or citation, whatever networks you are doing, you can use this thing by the analyzing the targeted place or targeted transition, that after this process this will happen or not, and which pathway it will follow, because it's a automatic process, so it will give some new pathways as well. So what we have done, like in our paper we have done in last, that in COVID during we have worked on tuberculosis disease, and there are because already there are some known pathways are there, that by just following this pathway, these are the particular inhibitors. By just following this pathway, we can target the targeted possible targets in the disease. But here what we have done, that after following same criteria, same invariant analysis and everything, we have validated that pathways, as well as we find some more pathways which may be useful for drug target, as a drug targets for the drug development. So because in our life, like in society, we require that for drug development, first we identify that what are the possible drug targets. So whatever you are doing work on any disease, you just find out first. So maybe you get an idea that where it is applicable. Okay, so now it is clear. Thank you so much. If you have any query, so there are applications, you can see there are so many applications here. Okay.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. You're very nice and very useful for me. And others
Thank
also
you so much.
very, very useful and basic also.
Thank you.
Yes, I am scholar, so I'm very. There are more examples and applications I have on this your lecture. I'm very, very thankful to you.
Actually, maybe my voice is clear or not, but your voice is not clear to me. So,
Okay.
and again, can you repeat what? Okay.
Now audible.
Yeah, now it is audible. Actually, I am having one important call and meeting, and I have to leave this time only.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. No
So
problem.
I'm just requesting. Can I leave this time now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sure.
Okay. Okay.
Just
Thank you. Thank you.
1 second, please. Shall we
Okay.
conclude
Okay.
this
Okay. No.
session?
Now, we conclude this session with our vote of thanks. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your excellent presentation. It is a completely new area of study in graph theory that will be of great help in the development of research work. Once again, thank you, ma'am. And I also extend our thanks to all the participants for your participation. Now, this session is over. Next session will start at 10:45 p.m. tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.